I'll tell you what, this is delicious. When you try this recipe, you're gonna love it. Oh, by the way, do me a favor. Click the like button, subscribe, and also drop me a comment down below. You can hear the dog is ready to get in and have some of this delicious stew. I'm checking my little pot here's starting to boil. I'm going to get some water on this ice, and right here I've got ingredients to make a delicious pork stew. So come on over, let me show you these ingredients. This is just some great looking stuff, and I'm going to show you how to make a delicious stew that really stands out. It's easy to make. It's, well, just flat delicious, and frankly, it's one of those where you can have it thin and brothy or thick and more gravy like, and I'm going to show you how to do both. So tell you what, come on over, let's take a look. So I've got everything laid out here. Now folks, there are things that you could add to this, or you can leave some of this out, and this stew still comes out absolutely delicious. So if you don't like chilies or onions or whatever, just drop that ingredient, okay? I have here a pork tenderloin. Now, I decided to make this dish in this recipe because the price of beef has skyrocketed. So I chose something wonderful, delicious, and that's pork tenderloin. And believe me, this recipe works. It rocks. All right, so we got that for our meat. I've got some carrots that I got from the garden out there. Also some fresh garlic here, fresh tomatoes, potatoes, poblanos, and that's these peppers. And you can substitute any other kind of pepper. Also some onion here. I got a yellow onion, a couple of cups of water, and 3/4 of a cup of white wine. And folks, that's it right there. Now let me show you what I do to make a really good stew. We need to remove some skin. Okie dokie, I've got boiling water, and here's the thing. I wanted to show you a few neat little tricks about removing skin from chilies and from tomatoes and all kinds of stuff. So the first technique I'm going to show you involves boiling water and ice, but I need cold water in the ice. So in the bottom of my the bin for my ice maker in my refrigerator, the thing gets, through because of the thaw and the defrost cycle, thawing and refreezing, there's a part of it that solidifies on the bottom, and that's what that was. I'm just using product in a good way. So what I want to do is I want to take these tomatoes and gently lower them into the water over here. If you notice, I'm using tongs so I don't splash and so I don't burn myself. Now, it doesn't take very long at all. All I need is to put that in there for anywhere from 1 minute to 2 minutes. And what this does is it's causing expansion on the outside of that skin and the meat underneath it. And then when we throw it into the ice water, the meat underneath contracts quickly and it breaks free from that skin and allows it to slip free easily. And so that's how we prepare our tomatoes for basically being sliced up. It's a really cool method. Now these, I want to just put these directly on the fire. We'll do that in just a minute, and I'll scorch the skin off of the outside of them, and then I can either wash them or I can pick that skin off of the outside and have something of a charred flavor from my chilies. Really cool way, either way. So, and then the potatoes, I'm just going to peel them. When I see splitting on some of the skins, that's when it's time. So while those are chilling, I can take these, put them right here on top of this burner that's already nice and hot, turn the gas back on, and over about a medium flame, let them char, give them time. There's no rush there. Now these, I'm going to go ahead and separate that skin. So the way I'm doing these, you can kind of do yours your own way if you want. See how the skin is fully intact on this one. Watch what happens when I break it. You see that? Now it's coming right off. Bam, isn't that sweet? Just take that skin and pull it, and there it goes. You're done. Set your tomato in the bowl. look at your next one. Oh, look at that skin was already starting to split. It just wanted to come off. Whoops, wrong bowl. There we go. Right down there. So this method is the best I know of for removing skin from tomatoes. Seems to work rather quick. It's easy. And you get the full tomato usually intact. Those are doing nice. And the aroma from them, that's one of my favorites. The aroma from the chilies is fantastic, but let me forewarn you, it will burn the olfactory senses of some people. I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me at all, but it will burn the eyes and the mouth and ears and nose and everything else of some people who are sensitive. So please keep that in mind. All right. Oh yeah, that's what we're looking for. You see that charring? That's beautiful. You don't have to worry about getting these directly in the flame. It doesn't hurt them at all. In fact, it's an enhancement to the pepper. So enjoy this technique. The popping and crackling sound of deliciousness. So I'll take my taters and just go ahead and get them peeled. Well, there was a few different ways of slicing and cutting and preparing things for stewing, okay? Simple enough, huh? All right. I'm going to go ahead and remove the seeds and pith from all of these. Now, I don't really mind the seeds and all that, but sometimes I just want to clean things up a little bit for the dish. This is one of those times. Alrighty, here we go. We'll get to our meat course here. And of course, that's what it's all about, is that pork right there, that tenderloin. Now, sometimes on the outside of a pork tenderloin, you'll have just a little bit of silver skin here and there. Okay, don't be afraid to go ahead and just remove that. Now, here's what I'm talking about right here. You'll see this stuff on here, and use a really good sharp knife. Let's cut a nice point on it and just go right up underneath that. Okay, doesn't take that long. Sometimes you can get away with pulling silver skin off of meat, like so. Sometimes on a tenderloin like this, it'll tear the meat underneath. So watch what you're doing if you do try that. Okay? I want to take this guy. There's a couple of different ways we can cut this, but I want to do it this way just to kind of give you an idea. Here and here. Turn it. We're going to make some little cubes, just like that. All right? And I'm going to do the whole thing. I really love cooking with this particular cut of meat. All right, and here, a little different approach. Same effect, just a different way of doing it. You know, the nice thing about using gloves, and this is something I like to mention when I'm doing this type of work, is if you've got a little cleanup at the end to do and you don't want to have to wash your hands and you have maybe a small amount of scrap left, it's very easily dealt with cooking gloves. There, I'm done, I'm clean, and I'm ready to go on to my next task. All right, well, there it is. I decided to have a seat for a minute. My back was hurting a little bit. Lots of arthritis these days. Anyway, not a big deal. Meat. We start with the meat. Why? Because I want to get some caramelization on the meat. All right, if I get that and I get a little caramelization in the bottom of the pan, that's additional flavor, ladies and gentlemen. That's just concentrated flavor, and it's really good stuff. The same way a good sear on the outside of a steak tastes delicious, so does this. So, I'm gonna get this started here. There we go. Get us a nice good heat going underneath that pot. That's what I like about that big burner, is it's got a lot of power, good searing power. So anyway, I'm gonna give it a few minutes to heat up. It takes some time to get that hot. When I do, I'm going to put some oil in the bottom, and then we're going to start cooking this up. Now, I've got two oils out here. One is peanut oil, and the other is olive oil. You know, when I'm cooking with oils, those are my two go-to oils. That's what I use in the kitchen all the time. If I want to deep fry, I go with peanut oil. If I'm going to be putting something on a salad, I use olive oil. But I also do a lot of cooking like this in olive oil. When I do like really shallow frying or something, I'll put olive oil in there. I like the aroma, the flavor. It's all just delicious stuff. And what we have here are the makings of a really delicious stew. So, got the back camera going, and it'll be ready as soon as this pan is ready, and that's not going to take that long. And then we're going to start searing this, and I'll show you what that looks like. The other thing is once we don't throw all of the meat in there at once, okay? I only want to put in maybe half at the most. And then once that's finished searing, I'll pull that out and put the remainder in to do some more searing. Now, I'd also do this in hopes of juice release, getting more caramelization on the bottom of the pan. But also you need to know, if you put it all in there, the moisture coming from the meat will overwhelm the frying action. It'll bring down the temperature, and at that point you're simply poaching the meat, okay? So we're looking for searing. High temperatures and oil. I always put a little water in the bottom to do a test and see how that water is skating around in there. Let me put a little more in to demonstrate that better. Okay, now you can see better. The way that water is still in there and skating around, that is a result of what we call the Leidenfrost effect. It was a scientist named Leidenfrost that came up with what was really going on there. It's a vapor barrier between the surface of the pan and what was in it. And that vapor barrier tells us that the pot is at a good temperature. If you're cooking, it's a good way to know if you're ready for a sear. You don't want to heat the pan so high that your oil smokes, okay? We're not looking for smoky oil. If your oil smokes, then you're going to run into a problem with it building carcinogens. Don't allow that, okay? Now, at first, that meat will stick. Don't worry about that. Once it starts to sear on the bottom, it will actually release at that point. Until then, we're just building flavor. Okay, we are getting some brown on the bottom of the pot and a little bit on that meat. Oh, yeah. And if you're wondering, why did he put that cooked meat with the raw meat? Oh no. What will we do? You don't hurt a thing because it's all going to go back into the same dish, ladies and gentlemen. Won't hurt a thing. That brown in the bottom of the pan, though, look at that. That's nothing but pure, solid, golden flavor right there. Now, so you'll know I am doing this over a high heat. As much flame as I can get under that pot is what I've got. And so that's the way I'm going to run the process until the entire pot is up and boiling for me. I want it to be simmering and boiling beautiful before I put the lid on it and go and relax. All right, now juice them all. Right down in there. Now we're ready to put everything else in, add some liquid to it, and we're going to be up and cooking. And I'll say this, that last ingredient I put in my book, that is one of the most important. And it isn't because it in by itself provides so much flavor. What it does is it gives us acid. It gives us lots of acid and a really good type of acid for stewing. Now here's also some white wine, more acid. Oh yes. Here's some water in here. Now I started with just 2 cups of water, but I do need more. Because I want my water to cover everything that I have in here, okay? I'll leave my burner on high. Now so far I have 4 cups of water in this. There's a 5th cup. Let me stir it. Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and put the rest in. Yes. Now, I need to do a little bit of seasoning. I'm going to start with some salt, and I want about, a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half. All right, and that's all you'll need for the whole thing. Now, black pepper, yes. And how much? You're going to look at about a teaspoon, again, to a teaspoon and a half, the same way we did with the salt. But I need to mention this. Some of it I'm going to add now. Some of it I want to add at the end of cooking because it gives a different aroma and flavor when you do that, okay? Now, even though I have onions in here and even though I'm putting garlic in this, I add onion powder, okay? About a half a teaspoon to 3/4. And then the same way with some garlic powder. And you might be wondering, well, if you got onions and garlic in it, why add those? Well, folks, garlic powder doesn't taste the same as garlic. And onion powder doesn't taste the same as onions. So they are a spice. They're an additional ingredient that really makes, again, complex flavors, deep flavors that we're developing here. All right, now I just need to crush some garlic to put in this. and we're off and running. I'm bringing it up in temperature. All right, now I want a few garlic cloves, and with this stew, I like to use anywhere from 2 to 4 cloves of garlic. If they're average size, you know, and you kind of got to figure what you're going to do there. Now, what did you see me do right there? You know, today I showed you so many different ways of peeling so many different things. You know, we peeled tomatoes, and we peeled poblanos, and let's see, we peeled the silver skin off the outside of that meat, cut it off actually. And we peeled an onion, we peeled our potatoes. So, and each one of those using a different technique, and the same thing I'm doing here. I'm just squeezing these just hard enough, just firm enough to get the paper to crackle a little bit. When it does, it breaks free. And here's the thing, you don't smell like garlic. Your cloves are still whole. You can put them in the fridge and preserve them that way if you wish. So to process this for my stew, I simply want to cut the callus end off of the end of this so it's not in my way. There we go. I left a little behind on that one. There we are. And I don't have to cut this up or anything or chop it. I simply need to crush it. Be careful when you use a knife to do this. Keep the edge down a little bit and then just firmly press. And what that'll do is it'll allow that garlic to release everything. But at the same time, you don't go through a whole lot of work in processing this stuff to get it ready for your dish. All right, there's our garlic right down in there. I'm still waiting for it to come to a boil. When it does, I'm going to lower the temperature to simmer, and I want to let it simmer for an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. And the real test is how tender are the potatoes. Okay, my timer is set for 1 hour, and now, oh yeah, let's peel a bottle. I've peeled everything else. So what do I got here? Ooh, let me tell you, this stuff just loves to foam up. So I'll try to pour it real gently. The colder it is, the better, because it is very active. It's very carbonated, I should say. Beautiful red color to it. This is my cherry seltzer. It's a new recipe I've been working on, and I've just about got it where I want it. Now I'll make that pretty soon and show y'all how it's made. Until then, I've got an hour to relax and enjoy myself. So we'll take a look at this after it is about ready to eat. We'll take a look at what the potatoes look like and how tender they are and how to know if it's ready, and then enjoying it. All right, I got steam. Looky there, and it's just boiling away. So what I want to do real quick is stir it once, and then I'm going to reduce the heat and let it simmer. There we go. So down to low heat and give it time. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this and see if it's ready to thicken up. Now what I do to test a stew like this is I pull out some of the potatoes like this. Now if I push my fork in and that potato breaks in half, well, the stew's ready. It didn't, did it? Okay, this needs to cook for just a little bit longer. Also, another way of knowing is the edges of the potato will start becoming rounded. Those corners won't be sharp and the edges won't be quite as crisp. So that's another way of knowing, okay? So there you have two wonderful methods of knowing what's what. I want to give it another 15, maybe 20 minutes. All right. It has had a little more cook time. Let's test those taters again. Oh, Oh, looky there. It's still just a little bit firm. Dagnabbit, I was hoping they'd be ready already. Just another one. Almost there. Almost ready to just break apart. So about another 5 minutes here, and this is ready for me to serve up. Alright, I have a little cornstarch here, and I like to use this when I'm going to thicken things up, like if I want to add a little body to a soup. That's what we're doing here. Is I have this beautiful stew that we've made, and I want to just add some body to the liquid in it. I don't want it to be quite as thick as gravy, but I do want it to have, well, be a little bit firmer than just the watery consistency it is now. And when you first start trying to mix this stuff together, it usually doesn't want to. Just be patient. In a couple of seconds time, it will break free and mix all up. There, it's all ready to go. So now all I need to do is just add this mixture to the pot and give it a couple of minutes to finish thickening up. It's ready to go after that. Okay. Now there is one trick to this, and that is make sure that you are stirring when you add this. Don't dump it in all at once, and make sure you stir as you add. Now the reason is, if you pour it all in there and then just ignore it, you're going to end up with this little lump in the middle of your stew that's really firm and not very flavorful. It's not a very fun thing. So do yourself a favor and make sure you stir. So what this is going to do is, it's, as you've already seen, it's thickening up. It's coating my spoon a little bit better. It's coating the vegetables and the meat a little better. And that's the whole idea, is I just wanted it to have a little body. So the quantity of everything that I've used today, let's start right here. It was 1 pork tenderloin, and this one weighs right about 1 pound and 3 ounces. All right, so the store I buy from sells these in packages of 2. It usually runs anywhere from $10 to $12 for 2 of them, and so it's a very economical choice for your protein. All right, now also water back here, a couple of cups of water, 3/4 of a cup of white wine. Now on the carrots, just a few small carrots, doesn't take a whole lot, but generally you're looking for anywhere from 8 to 12 ounces of carrots. A couple, 2 to 4 cloves of garlic, 1 medium yellow onion. As far as how much on the tomato, I usually use somewhere around 14 to 16 ounces of Roma tomatoes. And our poblanos here, they generally weigh out for the 2 of them here at about 10 ounces. Okay, so these are some pretty big, heavy, meaty ones. Any kind of chili will work here. I usually match my potatoes to about the same weight as the meat, and so I got just a little over 1 pound of potatoes here, and that's the way I like to make my stew. There's sort of a, well, you could say a formula for how I do it. Let's take a look at that beautiful stew that we have made. All right. Boy, I am ready for this. I have to admit, I love stews. It's just some of the best flavor I know of is found by stewing. And this one, it's a winner. Look at that. We have it. A beautiful, beautiful bowl of stew. Ooh. As I mentioned before, I wanted a little bit of black pepper right at the very end. Now you can add it to the whole pot or just let each person add their own. It really does set the stew off, okay? And it doesn't take a whole lot. If it's fresh cracked, it's really the best. And I'm here to tell you, let's try some of this pork. Oh, that's magnificent right there. Well, I can hear the dog yapping to get in at the back door. She wants her way and she wants a bowl of this stew. I don't blame her. It's delicious. Give it a try. You're really going to love this recipe. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, click that like button, drop me a message down below, and folks, enjoy your stew. It's some good stuff. Mm-hmm.